Update. My 34 male, stepdaughter 19 female, and I are very close, and her boyfriend 20 male doesn't like it. Original post. Alright, so let's get the obvious out of the way. Yes, she calls me dad. I've been in her life since she was 11. Yes, the age difference is weird for a lot of people. My wife is 40 and she had a kid, sue me. Lastly, I am in no way attracted to my daughter. She's a pretty girl, but that's my kid. This is not a fetish post. Now we can begin. My daughter and I are very close. She'd never had a decent male figure in her life at the time I met her. And I knew that if I wanted to pursue a relationship with my now wife, that I should do everything I could to fill the role. So I did. I helped with homework, I played games with her, watched shows or YouTubers she was into, read her favorite books, etc. Because I wanted to build a solid relationship with her. Turns out, if you treat things like they're important, sometimes they go well. She and I spent a lot of time together, and our family doesn't really have big touch barriers. So hugs, cheek kisses, sometimes she'll use me as a pillow, etc. All of this is very common, and she does the same with my wife. I love you is said probably 50 times a day in my house. We are affectionate, and that's the picture I'm trying to paint here. Very recently, she started dating. Her boyfriend doesn't appreciate that we're comfortable with expressing our affection toward each other, even going so far as to ask me to tone it down when he's around, in private, and my daughter doesn't know this yet. I want to respect my daughter's new relationship, because this is a new and exciting thing for her and I'm genuinely happy for her. But I also don't want to lose the connection I've spent so long building. And I don't think I should be made to pretend it's less important to me, just because he's dating someone that happens to be a little insecure. I can understand where the guy is coming from, but I don't think he really has a right to interject here. The dilemma is this. Should I tone it down as requested? Should I continue on as normal? Or should I tell my daughter about the request and let her handle it however she sees fit? Honestly not sure what the right move is. Edit. Couple of things. 1. I should make it clear that I do not initiate the majority of physical contact in my household. I initiate probably 20-ish% with my stepdaughter, maybe 40% with my wife. 2. This particular thing happened after she asked me what I wanted from a restaurant I hadn't been to. I asked to see the menu, and instead of throwing her literally brand new phone, she hopped in my lap and handed it to me, made suggestions, etc. This is totally in line with how we act normally. A lot of people are getting stuck on the lap thing, so let me be perfectly clear here. I don't ever initiate this. It's always on her. If she's comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with her. Because of this, the second she stops being comfortable, it'll never happen again. I am also aware this is outside what many people would consider to be the norm. If you fall into this category, I'll already hear you, and I do not care. That wasn't the point of the post, though it seems like we've gone a ways past that already, LMAO. And whether you think it's creepy or whatever else is irrelevant to us, the people who are participating. I also would say that most people would probably rate me an 8 or 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. I am, admittedly, kind of a trophy husband. My wife made roughly 8 times my income when I met her, and I have since quit to pursue my passion of blacksmithing. I met her just after she broke it off with her abusive ex, and she was just looking for a fling. That fling turned into being more and eventually into a relationship. When I decided I was ready to be what she and her daughter both needed, and she was on board with the idea. Don't get me wrong, we're very much in love, but I took it upon myself to become a good cook. I do most of the cleaning, etc. because she is often exhausted from long days at work, travel, etc. Now for the top advice before reading the update. First of all, you are her father and he is just a guy she started dating. If he has any problems, he needs to address to her, not going behind her back and talk to you. Each family is different and he needs to understand that. Maybe talk with your wife first if you need to tell someone. Then talk with your daughter and let her sort it out. Yes. OP, please notify your daughter about the situation. As of now, the boyfriend is dating your daughter, not you. She'll need to decide how she'll handle the situation. Just support her in whatever she decides to do. Also, it's very messed up that the boyfriend would basically ask a father to show less affection towards his daughter. To me, that's grimy. I agree. OP's daughter needs to know. Maybe include mom too and have a family discussion. The boyfriend's a bloody weirdo. And me thinks he needs to stop watching adult movies. I agree. The fact that he does talk to you first shows that he doesn't think of you as an authority figure like a father. If you were 50 with a beer belly and a gray beard, he wouldn't be insecure about you being affectionate. He sees you as a peer. Maybe he does. It felt like a jealousy thing to me last night. I am youngish and take care of myself, so I wouldn't really be surprised. But it's not like I'm going to change who I am or my family dynamics on account of some dude that might not be around beyond next week. I wonder if all the weird porn fetish has skewed people's perception of things. That is exactly my point, distorting what a genuine loving parent-to-child relationship should be. I'm 30 and I've never toned down my affection with my stepdad. He's my dad. It's weird to think of affection being anything past that. The fact that he approached you discreetly and demanded you pull back your affection to your daughter is a red flag. I would definitely tell her and let her reassess her relationship with him because it could be a sign he wants to isolate her from her family. Approaching him discreetly also feels like he thinks the men in OP's stepdaughter's life are the ones who control who does what with her body. It's like a power transfer, where he is the man in her life and all physical touch should be shifted to him. There is a strange feeling of ownership in his approach. Not everyone grew up with a lot of affection, and it can be confusing to see that in someone else's family. Many people feel that physical touch is reserved for intimate partners. Boyfriend may not be intending to be controlling and is uncomfortable with touch because he interprets it in ways that are incorrect. This could be brand new to him, and whether or not he can learn to understand, this is up to him. And now for the update. I had quite a few people ask for an update on the last post, despite it getting slightly derailed. Lol. So here it is. I spoke with my daughter the next evening after she came home from work. Her boyfriend was at the house at the time. He was over for dinner and had picked her up. I pulled her aside for a couple of minutes and let her know what happened. She was surprised because she's already had this talk with her boyfriend. She said she'd handle it and left. A little while later, I called them in for dinner. After she finished eating, she confronted him. I'm paraphrasing because she told his story, but this is basically what she said. So my dad told me what you said, and I wanted to wait until after dinner to bring it up. I didn't have a good childhood. My biological father treated my mom horribly, and after she left him, he never contacted me again. Her next big relationship was worse. It seemed fine on the outside, but there was a lot of emotional abuse and controlling behavior. I was caught up in it too. Then this guy came along. I was obviously skeptical at first. He looked like trouble to me. He was making my mom happy, but I was an icy witch to him, because bad men were all I'd ever known. He asked me questions for over a year trying to get to know me, and I shut him out. One day when I was reading, he asked what book it was. I didn't even answer him. I just lifted it up so he could see the cover. It was Island of Shipwrecks in the Unwanted series. He said, "That looks pretty cool. What is it about?" And for the millionth time, I didn't answer. Maybe 2 weeks later, he asked me if I was finished with the book. I said, "Yeah, why?" And he said, "Well, I read the other 5. I thought you might let me borrow it so I can catch up and we can talk about it." I thought he was lying through his teeth, so I asked him questions about plot points and characters. Not a single wrong answer. I went to my room and got the book for him. It's a kind of dumb story, but you have to understand something. My dad is the first man who was ever nice to me, and I gave him plenty of reasons not to be. He was patient and thoughtful and never pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I will always be grateful for that. Bottom line is that I love my dad, and the only people who have a say in our relationship is us. If you feel threatened because we're close, that's not going away. Ever. I like you. I have fun with you. But if you think I'll change my relationship with my dad for you, then you've made a mistake. If you're too insecure to handle the fact that I'm close to my dad, this isn't going to work out. If you can handle it, I would love to have you around. Otherwise, he kind of interrupted her here and said, "It's not just because you're close. I get that has been good to you and your mom and that's great. But have you seen the guy?" Referencing to my looks. Yes? What about it? It just makes it really weird for me. I don't know how to explain it other than that. You're way closer to your dad than anyone I've ever met. And it's a little creepy when you take into account that he looks like he could be a "what are you doing stepdaughter" guy. Look, there's apparently 2 people at this table. For context, it was the 2 of them, my wife and myself at a table, who think my dad is bangable. And it's really weird that you're one of them. Choosing time is over, the door's that way. Do not call or text me anymore. So that's pretty much how it went down. After he left, she cried for a few hours in a room. When she finally came out, it was around midnight or so, and she sat next to me on a couch. I asked her if she was worried this would be a constant problem, And if she wasn't comfortable with how things are, I can understand and respect that. She hugged me very tightly and just replied, "Don't be dumb." So I guess everything's alright. I also thought it was kind of funny, disrespectful but funny, that she had this big story planned out. I got some rom-com vibes from it personally, but it was her first boyfriend, so she has no experience having big talks. And the guy just completely disregarded it. Obviously, empathy and understanding are not his strong points. I feel bad for my daughter because it was her first relationship, but I definitely think she dodged a bullet. Ha ha ha. 2 people at this table think my dad is bangable, and it's weird that you're one of them is an excellent line. 10 over 10 will bring it up for the rest of my life. My wife almost burst out laughing as the kid was walking away from the table. She was wrong though. There were 3. I think I'm extremely bangable too. Very much a rom-com vibe as you stated at the end, but I am so glad you have such a close relationship with your stepdaughter. It is much more common to see posts here about issues between step-parents and children. She sounds like she is growing into a wonderful woman, and you and your wife should be very proud. She reads and watches a lot of rom-com manga/anime, so I imagine that's where she picked it up. She doesn't really have a frame of reference for big important talks, unless it's from me, and during those I usually throw in an anecdote. Maybe it's my fault, haha. I like how everything was handled by you too. What impressed me the most was your stepdaughter. Not changing who she is for some guy. Very mature of her, this being her first relationship. Kudos to the both of you. I was surprised myself. She often talks about how she wants a connection with someone, and I was worried that if red flags popped up, she would overlook them in favor of that. Last story. Update. Am I the a-hole for telling my brother I can't babysit my niece because me and my boyfriend planned a date night? Original post. The place I, 28 female, worked at downsized and I lost my job earlier this year. I found another, but it pays significantly less. So me and my boyfriend Rob, 38 male, recently moved out, as the rent was too high and we've been looking for a more affordable place. My brother Jack, 36 male, let us stay at his place while we sort everything out, and we're grateful to him. Jack's profession means his work hours are all over the place. My niece Lacey, 3 female, usually stays with a sitter or with her maternal grandparents while Jack's at work. Since I've been staying here, I've also looked after her a couple of times when I don't have other plans. A couple of days ago, Jack got called in unexpectedly and he asked if we could look after Lacey. The issue was that me and Rob were planning to go out for dinner and a movie later. So I said, sorry, but we couldn't. Jack got extremely pushy and said to take Lacey with us and he'll pay. But obviously me and Rob weren't on board with this, as it's supposed to be a date night, on top of the movie not being suitable for kids. He also told us to reschedule, but we did end up going. Side note, it wasn't an emergency. Jack was able to call in and say he couldn't make it, but he's been really angry with me. And apparently seniors aren't too happy with him. Again, we did apologize and Rob later said Jack should have planned better. He's still pretty mad at us. So are we the a-holes? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Let me guess. Because Jack is so well off, other family members have been leeching off him and he finally put his foot down? Careful. That would happen to you too. You're the a-hole, and the more you defend yourself, the more of an a-hole you appear to be. It's nothing like that. I'll explain it a bit. Jack had a one-night stand with Lacey's mom and she passed away from pregnancy complications. Our parents, especially Dad, told him to cut contact with Lacey's mom, but he didn't. This caused a massive blow-up. They pretty much shunned him after that. Our parents reached out to him a couple of years ago to apologize, but he ignores them and wants nothing to do with them. We have 4 other siblings and 3 of them no longer interact with Jack either. You're the a-hole. Rob said Jack should have planned better. Rob and you are living in his bloody house and have a nerve to say he should have planned better? Lol. Right? The audacity of this 38-year-old man to critique the guy literally paying his bills is mind-blowing, LMFAO. Critiquing him for going into work to be able to pay the bills for everyone at that. What the actual hell? You're the a-hole. While I agree it's on Jack to find childcare for his kid, he is letting you live rent-free. His help for you is significantly more than you babysitting for him a handful of times. I get that if you don't have advanced notice, there's no reason to expect to be babysitting your niece on a whim. That said, Your excuse not to babysit wasn't a very good excuse. I'd say the welfare for your niece trumps a date night that could easily be rescheduled. I get that you don't view this as an emergency, but it was for Jack. You put your plans to go have dinner and a movie over helping out your niece for Jack's work emergency, which worsened his career relationships, it sounds like. I can see why Jack was upset, seeing as he's helping you out a ton, but you tell him no to watching his daughter for a date night. The absolute least you could have done was watch her. You act like Jack asking and pleading didn't matter, but the date night did. You're the a-hole. I think it is worth emphasizing that Jack does not take advantage of Opie as an on-call babysitter. It sounds like the requests to babysit are only occasional. Exactly. Plus, it was a dinner and movie, not something like a concert that can't be rescheduled. Now for the update. It's pretty late, but quite a bit has happened, so I thought I'd update. To answer some common questions I noticed. 1. Yes, Rob works. He's not unemployed. 2. People asking what type of job Jack has that has such odd hours. He's a surgeon. 3. We've been here for 3 weeks. Long story short, after Jack got home, we all had a serious discussion. I'd already talked to Mom about the situation, and she told us to move to hers, so me and Rob will be moving out of Jack's place tomorrow. Jack basically told us we need to leave, and I said that's already been sorted. Again, we thanked him for letting us stay. He made some snarky comments about how we shouldn't be going out anywhere to save for rent. Not for this situation specifically, but we're going on a family holiday in December. So I think he was jabbing at that. This doesn't make much sense to me, as he and Lacey are going on an expensive European holiday for the New Year's. But okay. I had enough, and I eventually just replied that I hope he never has to go through any type of struggle. He actually even got Lacey involved against us. Apparently, she saw him crying last night, and this little 3-year-old came up to us, saying that we made her daddy sad. Something along those lines. But yeah, that's about it, and we'll be moving out. Edit, he got called in to work that day as a standby surgeon or something like that. He wasn't the lead surgeon, so he was able to say he couldn't make it and they called someone else. And also, as I mentioned, me and Rob both